This will be made a public video, so it will be available for everybody. As we are doing this, feel free to ask questions and we'll discuss it. I'll keep it that way as always. And we say hey. Hi Jaya. Hi Sindhu. Hi Anjali.
Hello, thank you.
So let's get started. So welcome
Before
everyone.
we start, I'm sorry.
Go on.
There is this question that I heard in a couple of other groups that this Gayatri mantra should not be chanted by women. It's only a man who is supposed to be chanting this. And I saw a little bit of patriarchy and all such stuff over there. So if you can throw light also on this question, it'll be great.
Yeah, I hope by the end of it, when you get to the meaning of it, the answer, you will get the answer. That's the idea. So once you understand the essence of it, you will get the answer. If not, I'll answer.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have more. Megha. Hi Megha, Kalpesh. Good. So we're just getting started. As always, we'll start. So we've called the session, May the Illuminator Enlighten Us. Gayatri Mantra. So we'll start with our prayer. We started using this prayer, so we'll continue with this one now. So I'll request everyone to sit comfortably. You're on a chair, let your feet be comfortably on the ground, flat. Allow your back to be supported. Gently close your eyes. Bring your attention to your breath for a couple of rounds. And you can repeat after me. May we be Saath together. May we be Jigyasu, curious. May we be Virya, energetic. May our learning be Tejasvi, bright. Shanti, Sukoon, peace. Welcome everyone, and as this is a session on the Gayatri Mantra, I thought we'll start with at least one round of chant of the mantra. And as you'll see the meaning, understand the mantra more, you'll know the purpose of chanting with it. So again, just maintaining that peace from that place of peace. And just repeat after me once. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Welcome everybody. Seeing some more faces. Good to see that. Hi Vinti. Hi Vivek. Mr. Rao, Elana Rao.
Hi Sandeep.
Hi.
Hi Sandeep.
Hi. Good. Let's get started. And so broadly, as I had shared finally in the group, I thought I'll answer these questions. So first is just what is the traditional significance of the Gayatri Mantra or the Savitri Mantra as it's called? What is its relevance? Some scientific research about it, which has happened, which is good to see, and the impact it has on us, on our well-being, particularly on our mind, our brain. our cognitive functions. Then we'll get into the meaning of the words of the Gayatri Mantra. So what is it really about? And then last, how to chant and some questions. I think like somebody was just asking whether women can, when should we, how should we. So we'll keep it open for questions to that. If those are still not answered, based on the understanding from bottom up in terms of what is this mantra really about? What's the background? What is its origin? What impact has it on us? And so once we see that, sometimes these answers become clear and obvious and we know what is happening, but we'll take up those questions if any, and I'll share at least my understanding and viewpoint of it. Okay. So fair enough. I think it's good to get that question about the gender. Any other questions people have in their mind as they're coming into this? So it's good to spell it out. Then I'll make sure I'll cover it at the right time if there are any specific questions about the Gayatri Mantra. So I know Priyanka shared about the Prana Ucharan, as I said, that I won't be, but I'll share the link for it for the proper, at least what I think is the proper pronunciation. Any other questions? Or good to go?
I have a question. Is it age specific?
Is it age specific? So good. So we'll see both impact on children and adults. So we'll see that. Short answer, I have been doing it since I was 2 or 3 years old. So
it means it is age specific.
Okay. Should it be said loudly or only in private? Yeah, good questions. Also, supposedly one, let a boy man needs to be initiated by either father guru before they can start. Yeah. So all those will come to the practice part. So once we understand what it is, let's see if these questions are there, but it's good to keep them all out. Good. Okay. Good to start then. Any other questions? Log them. Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely try and answer them. So let's start with the traditional significance. So what is this Gayatri Mantra and why does it have 2 names? I don't know how many people were familiar with this second name, that there is another name for this mantra also. No, right? So that itself will tell about the origin of it. So firstly, it's a Vedic mantra. So what does that mean? It means that actually it's from the Karam Kand section of the Vedas. So it's found in multiple Vedas, Rig Veda, Shukla Yajurveda and Krishna Yajurveda. Definitely in these 3. Some people are saying it's in all the 4. That I have found some very random articles only. But these 2 I have found, like Swami Chinmaya is saying that it's in both of these Vedas. So I take his word. I don't have to go and verify the Veda, whether it's there or not. But when Swami Chinmaya is saying, I take it for granted. So it's there in multiple Vedas. And what does it mean to be a mantra of the Veda, right? So as I've written, it means it's a sound of the universe. So what does that mean, right? So Vedas have no author. They are known as Aparushya, which means they have not been created by an individual or by a being. So there is no author for the Vedas. These are sounds which are there in the existence. Vedic sounds, the hymns of Vedas, which are directly in the Vedas, are sounds which are there in the surrounding, in the universe. These are sounds of the universe. What happens is a rishi actually discovers them through a process of meditation and brings it to us. It's like a discovery. It's like we knew, for example, the Americas were there till somebody landed up there and said, okay, at least from the West discovered Americas. They were already there, or West discovered a route to India, but they were already there before even discovery was made. So these sounds are there. So when I say it's a Vedic sound, it means when we chant them, what we are trying to do is to connect with this sound of the Vedas, of the universe. That is there, that is pre-existing. Some people will say, what does that even mean, right? Sounds, we are so used to sound being something we hear through our ears. And ears being, it has to be sound waves, which are mechanical waves, our ears. But I don't know if people have now come across things like the bone conduction headsets, right, which operate on a completely different principle. So you can, even on Amazon, they are available, bone conduction headsets. What they essentially do is they vibrate our bones in a certain way here, which vibrates our inner ear. And that's how we hear the sound. So there is no sound wave. So actually now there is already this technology which is there where just through vibrations we are experiencing sound. This exists. So if you go to the anatomy of the ear, the neural side of our ear, how sound is actually captured, you will start seeing it, and this exists. Now you just have to put bone conduction headset on Amazon and you can buy this headset. And the benefit of this headset, it doesn't block your ear. So like in traffic, if you're going, etc., your ear is still open to traffic. And that's why they are used. Of people who may have of the membrane being damaged, they can still receive sound. That's a practical side. But the important thing is we can get to this experience of sound without any mechanical or sound wave. There was a very recent experiment where they found that sound can also travel in free space, which has been said it can't. There was a very recent paper on that which said sound can travel. It will drop off very quickly, very little distance, but it can. So they have been able to do that as well. So that is the origin of this Vedas and the Vedic sound. So knowing this Gayatri mantra. So the first important thing about this Gayatri mantra is that it's the sound of the universe. It exists. All Vedic mantras are like that. Now you can start with this, only start seeing, oh, does gender, will it matter? Will age matter? Will these things matter at all now if it's the sound of the universe? If the sound is getting distinguished or not? Those questions will, I hope, get answered with just this basic thing, where it comes from. And it's so powerful that it is everywhere around us. So the other thing, as I said, is that it is actually discovered. So the discoverer of this mantra is known as the sage Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra is again amazing sage. His name only says Vishwamitra. So he is the friend of the universe, right? He's the Mitra of the Vishwa. So he's the friend of the universe. And I don't know how many people again know this amazing story of this. He was a king, apparently. He was a Kshatriya. He was a very big king with a very large army. And he was apparently traveling around with his army and came across, I think, Vashisht Muni. And he liked his cow. He wanted to get his cow. Vashisht Muni said, no, I won't give the cow, because this was cow which fulfills all wishes. It could feed his entire army, which was otherwise impossible and all of that. So when he refused, he said, no, I want this cow. So he fought a battle with the Muni, with the Brahma Rishi, and he lost that battle. So then he realized, what is all this? I have this huge army which is useless in front of this sage. So I want that kind of power. So that's how his journey to become a Maharishi began, a Brahma Rishi began. It started with the wrong reasons, apparently, which was to get more power. But as he went through this journey, eventually he realized what this is all about. And that's why he became the sage Vishwamitra, friend of the universe. And apparently this mantra was revealed to him, or he discovered this mantra as part of his enlightenment process. So that again makes this mantra, I think, I would say, putting these facts together, just a friendly mantra, right? It's a mantra which is also the friend of the universe, just like the Rishi who discovered it, right? So that's another fact about this beautiful mantra. And it's said that typically we remember the Rishi before we chant the mantra. So it's good to give at least the discoverer credit for it, although it's the sound of the universe. Then the reason it's called the Gayatri mantra is because it's in the Gayatri meter, right? A Gayatri meter or chandas. So these are meters, meaning meter is the rhythm in which it is there, and 888 means it has 3 lines of 8 syllables each. That's the Gayatri meter. So actually there are, then some people, when you say Gayatri mantra, will say there are many Gayatri mantras, because any mantra which is technically in this 888 format is a Gayatri mantra, because it's in this format of Gayatri, right? It's in this, some people later on in the mythology have added this Gayatri Devi as the mother of the Vedas to explain to us how important this Gayatri meter is in that spirit. So there is stories around Gayatri Devi, Gayatri deity, which is the mother of the Vedas, etc. But really the reason why it's the Gayatri mantra is because it's in this Gayatri meter. And this meter is so important. It's so important that I think about 25% of Rig Veda, which is the first and sometimes the most important Veda, is written in this meter, is rather discovered in this meter. So again, going with the sound of the universe, this meter is sort of the sound of the universe, this meter of 888, which means 8 syllables in each line. And we'll see that a little bit later on. But like any poem, it has a meter, right? It has a rhythm. So its rhythm is 8 syllables in each line. And those lines are Om Tat Savitur Vareniyam, that's 8 syllables. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, that's 8 syllables. And Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya, that's again 8 syllables. So those are the 3 lines which are in 888. That's why it's known as the Gayatri Mantra. Now, why is it known as the Savitur or Savitri Mantra? Because it is for this deity. So Tat Savitur, and we'll see what that deity means. What is Savitur? What does that mean? But that Savitur, so it is addressed to the deity is Savitur or Savitri, and that's why it's known as the Savitri Mantra also, or somewhere it's known as Savitri Gayatri Mantra, because other Gayatri Mantras will be to another deity. So they will, so other Gayatri Mantras mean other mantras which are in this 888 format will be to another deity. So they will be dash Gayatri Mantra. So this is Savitur Gayatri Mantra. But this particular Gayatri Mantra has become so popular because of its own thing that now we only know this as the Gayatri Mantra. Then it is also mentioned in the Upanishads, in Devi Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, and in the Ramayana. So Bhagavad Gita, for example, there is a whole section, I think chapter 11, where Krishna is telling Arjun, who is he in different. So he says, amongst the Chandas, I am Gayatri. Means the most supreme Chandas is Gayatri. He says, amongst the mantras, I am Om. Similarly, amongst the Chandas, I am Gayatri. So means amongst the meters, I am the Gayatri meter, which is the most revered meter. That's why also it has this notion of being the most revered meter. And last but not the least, of it's used in different forms. So what people are asking, it should be somebody who has initiated or how to do it. So it's been used in daily rituals by commoners, by everybody. So in fact, this is one mantra. There is no barrier actually, but it's so important that it became part of this process. Like what I think Shawan was asking, that somebody should initiate you, either your guru, father, only then you can, only men can. All those things started coming around. But as even with this basic background, you can start seeing that it's actually for everybody. And it's used in different formats, like daily rituals. People will do it in the Sandhya, which is one format is in the Sandhya, which is morning before day breaks, around the day. So you start just before day breaks at the edge and you continue till you see the sun. And similarly, at the end of day, you start before the sun sets and you continue till the sun sets, till the end, right? Do that many repetitions. So that's one way of practicing by anybody. You can just meditate on it also. And our practice, at least what we'll try and do here is that less the other part. Then it's also used in yagyas. Yagyas being when we do the karam kand with all the havan, samagri, etc. It's also used in that format as well. So this is some just historical, contextual, at least from our scriptures, the background about the mantra. I think most of the questions also which were there, I was able to answer. Aditya, should it be said loudly or only in private? It's said in Havan. So it's as public as it can get there. So you can definitely say it loudly. In general, on mantra chanting, we'll see that there is some part, there is a different effect when you say it loud. But you typically should start with loud, then go to a whisper, and then go to a complete internal sort of chanting. That's typically the sort of process that is used for any mantra chanting, anything, any chant rather. You start with the full chant loud, go to the whisper, and then go completely to the silent, where then it's happening automatically. And we'll see why that is in the scientific part, why that makes sense also. I'll see that. Could you please explain the time to chant? Okay. So time to chant, there are actually quite very, very varied things. One of the things that I have found, which is common, is they're saying it's good to do it in the Sandhya time. So Sandhya is defined as the time between the night and day. So in the transition, so in the morning, the transition happens when from dark you are going to light, right? So you just start before sunrise, continue till the sun comes up, till light happens. So at least that much, that's one way. And then similarly in the evening, start before sunset and go till the time the sun sets. That's called the Sandhya Vandana or Sandhya Arti of the Gayatri Mantra. So that's one way that people do it, but do it anytime. Then there are others which say just before sleep, you can do it. it helps with that sleep, and we'll see that also. So you can do it then also. Some people say you shouldn't do it in the night, but it's not very clear. That's one view. But in general, you can do it. So some even say, and once we understand the meaning, you will get more clarity on also when you would like to do it. Right. So once you know the meaning, you can then define it for yourself also. But this is one of the arti, at least Swami Chinmay Ananda has also recommended that. Okay, good. Any other questions on this before we get into the actual meaning, practice, and all the other questions? So background wise, clear. So
Yes.
remember, it is a Vedic mantra, means it's the sound of the universe. It's just there. It's for everybody. What we are trying to do when we chant is actually want to connect with this universal force, universal entity, whatever is out there. Right? We're trying to connect with it. That's the intention we start with. Right? So that's one very important aspect of it. It's very revered. And the name Gayatri versus Savitur, just knowing that difference, why it's called the Gayatri, that's a meter, and Savitur is the deity. Yes. Jaya, you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. The number of times it has to be chanted, because I've heard different people saying different numbers.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
There is no number. So there is no number. Yeah, wait, different will say different. I started and I see some kids, so it's a good way for them to start. When I started, my grandmom started it for me. She taught me, and then she said, whatever is your age, you chant that plus one. So every year increase it by one. So I kept that formula for a very, very long time, and it stood very well for me. So I think starting off for children particularly, that's a very good way to say. If you're three times is good enough. Next year make it 4. So you're growing. Yes. So Sindhu asked, after bath, it's a universal sound. It doesn't care whether you are bathed or not. You can, that's again become a ritualistic part. So what some people will even offer, for example, so rituals are many that you can build around it, and they are built around it. That's there in the Manusmriti and some of the other texts also. But very simply, as I said, you can chant while you're going to bed. You can wake up chanting it. You can do, at least in my view and from what I have seen, there is no such restriction. So if you want, if you feel better after bathing, please do that. But I don't think that's mandatory. That's my understanding. Yes, Sayantan.
Quick question, maybe it will get answered later on. But the first line, Om Bhuvasava, why is that not counted in the 888?
So we'll come to that. Yeah. So that's
Sure.
basically
Okay.
that's a prelude we add to any mantra. The Rig Veda is just these 888 in the Veda. So we just chant that, and we'll see once we understand that meaning and implication of that, it will become clear. Okay. Good. Okay. Good. Yes, Aditya. Good. 1108 times. So if you have been initiated, please continue with that if that's what you feel comfortable with. It's perfectly fine. I think the thing is there are less rules than we need. We can work with even one good chant can work wonders. Okay. Good. So now let's see some of the benefits from a scientific side. Then we'll get to the meaning because that's equally important, and that tells us why and how we should chant a little, because that's, I think, sometimes the advantage of scientific research, which brings in some objectivity or objective knowledge around, and then we can make it our own personal, our subjectiveness around it. Okay. So let's see. So there are some very interesting studies we have. We are starting with children. And this is around spatial and visual memory. This is the reference. I'll share the slides. So the basic design of the study was what? There were 15 boys and girls, age 11 to 14 years in that age group. But it can start early. They chose 11 to 14. They were trained for 1 week in chanting the Gayatri mantra. And after that, they did once a day chanting at 6 a.m. for 10 minutes. And they did it for 16 weeks. This was basically the program. And then pre-post test, meaning before they start this 16 weeks, before the training, they did some spatial memory test and verbal memory test on how good their memory was, how well they were able to recall some drawings which didn't have any meaning, or they were able to recall some words. So they did that objective test. These are validated tests. They did that. And after 6 weeks of chanting, they again tested the same children on this. Okay. So basic structure is clear of what is the program, what they tested. Yes. Yeah, just before, after 16 weeks. So this is change that they are seeing in 16 weeks. So this is what they saw. In spatial memory, there was an increase of 33% just by this chanting, increase in 33%. So they were able to relate visuals better, remember them better, just on memory, and 50% better on visual memory. Oh, sorry, verbal memory. So that's, sorry, my mistake. The next one is verbal memory. So which is to recall words. So that was 50% better and 33% better. So it's clearly working on our circuits in the brain. That is getting very clearly established, which is, so it is having an impact on our nervous system in very simple words. And with children, it's definitely there. They started with children, and we'll see even later on what impact it has. So children, it works. So one of the things was just improve their memory to start with. And we all want that with the kind of education that we have. It's so memory based now. So it's good if they have this, at least they'll be able to score the basic marks. Then there was another study. This was 2018. The next, this is earlier 2012 study, where again they took worked with some children. It was on attention this time. So again, 30 boys, 30 girls, similar age group, 12 to 14. They were trained for 5 days in chanting. Here, they actually compared what does Gayatri Mantra chanting do, and they gave a poem also saying, is the effect due to the Gayatri Mantra or just some chanting? Right? So I could chant a poem, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, right? And say, does that also have an impact on our brain, right? That is also worth studying. So they actually compared the Gayatri Mantra versus the poetry chanting to say, is the Gayatri Mantra better? And this time they only did 5 days. So they said even in 5 days. So what was the result this time? So what do people think? How was it versus poetry? What do you think? Will it be same, worse, better? Anybody? Any guesses? Yes.
Yeah, poetry would be worse than Gayatri Mantra.
Poetry would be worse than Gayatri. Jaya?
Yeah, I think it will be better with Gayatri Mantra.
Better with Gayatri Mantra. So yeah.
Yes.
Good. So this was about attention. So the test is different. This is about how well they are able to pay attention to something, which is becoming less and less easier, right? So particularly with things like ADHD coming and all, right? So this is saying, you can see it was 4.5 times better than just poetry. 4.5, that's 450 times better. Like poetry had some impact, 5%, but this was like 22%, 4.85 to 21.67. So just on attention, how well they were able to pay attention to whatever task they were doing. So the task here is a very tricky task where they have to recollect and change some numbers to letters, digit translation task. So this is the task also. You can see the paper, digit letter substitution task. So this is a very standard task where for one, they will have to write A here. So they see here, in a certain time they have to do. So they calculate the error, the numbers. So the attention was 4.5, 5 times more than with just. So there is something again with the Gayatri Mantra itself, which what it does with its own thing. Questions still here, clear? This is, I'm sure we love to see this. I thought I'll just summarize still to give more. And then now there is a study with adults, right? And this was a more comprehensive study. This is quite recent, 2020. And these adults were actually athletes, young athletes, 21, 22 still. And they looked at all of these: attention, memory, anxiety, and state. And this sort of, I think, answers Sayantan's question of control as well. Right. So in this, what they do, they divided these 45 athletes in 3 groups. Okay. And in these 3 groups, they basically divided them. One, they did meditation with Gayatri. Then they just did meditation. So here again, they wanted to see an additional impact of Gayatri versus meditation alone. So they separated these 2. And the third group was control, or there was no intervention, basically. And in this, they checked after 3 months. So they did pre-evaluation on these 4 parameters. 4 kinds of evaluations were there. Actually, it was very comprehensive. So even on each one of them, there were two tests that people did before and after. So it was quite comprehensive. And then they basically tested this. So again, what is the guess? Obviously, with no intervention, now we know there will be, but between meditation and Gayatri, meditation with Gayatri or with just meditation?
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you say no intervention, meaning what were they told? To do
Nothing. They just did nothing. They just lived their life.
Ah.
They take a test and 3 months later they did a test. That's what a control is. You don't do anything. They don't come in the room. They are trained and then they say at home go and do, right? Gayatri, or they come to a class. The others were coming. These guys, nothing. That's what with any yoga trial also we do. Or sometimes we do some other exercises, like we did poetry chanting in that group. That was like a control. But here it is this. Okay, good. Any other questions? So what was the guess? What's the result between meditation and meditation with Gayatri?
With Gayatri.
What will be with Gayatri?
That will have the best effect.
Best effect. Okay, there will be
Lesser
some
anxiety, better retention.
better retention. Okay, good.
Ideally,
Yeah.
it should be better with Gayatri because when you meditate, you have a lot of thought processes that goes. But once you have mantra chanting, you are able to have more concentration. So your concentration ability should actually improve.
Be better. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and as we'll see now, so there is this is a summary of the table. This table was too much. So NS means not significant, means statistically not significant change was seen. So in no intervention, there was no change seen as expected. No, it was just a similar values with very random fluctuations. And you will see in this though, attention and memory, Gayatri had a clear advantage. Very clear, very different. The level of change is also quite significant, 32 and 46. Here, there was no change in memory with just meditation. In anxiety and mental state, actually, they were quite similar. The difference is hardly anything major. Yes, and Sayantan, you're right. Just with meditation also, there is a lot that is happening in these three parameters also. Yes, just with meditation on our anxiety, on the mental state, on attention, it does happen.
One question, Sandeep.
Yes.
So I'm chanting Gayatri mantra for I think close to a month now. Earlier, I used to have that focus. Yes, I am sitting for chanting, so I should give my undivided attention. But these days, what's happening is that all kinds of thoughts keep coming, but I'm chanting.
Yeah.
So
it's become
I mean,
mechanical now, right? The chanting has become mechanical.
Kind of, yeah, you could say that. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, is there any impact? But I have seen personally, I remember where I keep things. But otherwise, usually I'm like, I keep and then I forget where it is. And then I have to search the whole house to figure out where it is. But now I remember it. Okay, I've kept it there, and I'm even able to recall. Okay, so what are the events? So first I had kept there, then I did this, then I kept it there. So that also I recollect. So all of those are there, but this mechanical thing, is it something that happens to all mantra chanters of all mantras? How do we overcome it? Or should it be overcome?
So basically, there is, I think, so in my understanding now, this is only part of it. I'm sharing very specific Gayatri studies. Number one, any mantra chanting, or rather any sound repeating, right, has an impact on your nervous system, which is both across your body and in your brain. It will have an impact. Like we are seeing even with poetry chanting, there is some impact there, right? Now, these sounds of the universe, right? There is something to this sound of the universe, I think, because it's about tuning to us. These are sounds which are for our well-being. That's why they are known as sounds of the universe. Like they are there. So they are tuned to us for our well-being. So when we are chanting those, there will be some benefit, further benefit on our well-being, whether we do it consciously or not. Even in these studies, that 3 months, I am sure the people were not doing it with all the focus. It became mechanical after some time. I'm pretty sure it's very hard to not be. And there is some things we can do. which we will see today. When we do it with meaning, with holding the meaning, with a visual of the meaning, then it becomes less mechanical. And then slowly it will start becoming whisper. So your loud voice will start coming down, and then it will become purely internal. That's where you want to get to in terms of its progression. Yeah, but
Okay.
the fact that you're chanting, there is an impact. There is no two ways about it. And we'll see the meaning. I think the meaning, the way even the Sanskrit language actually is described, right? The Sanskrit language comes from a very anatomical structure, from our anatomy of how our tongue, our throat, all our lips, our whole sort of mechanism of sound is. That's how the Sanskrit language comes. So the meaning of the words, actually, it's the other way. I think the rishis first perceived the words, these sounds. That's what the legend is. They will first get the sound. The meaning comes later, actually. So the visual of the sound is what becomes the meaning of those words rather than the other way. We are used to learning language in a very different way, right? We first get the picture, the meaning. That's how we learned languages. But remember your mother tongue, the way you learned it. You never had any visual. You learned it by listening. That was the only way you learned it. And that will always be there. Then the image happens. Image comes later. Meaning comes later. The first, the sound goes. The vibration of the sound goes. And that's, I think, how the rishis also, at least that's the legend, they will discover this sound and then the meaning will emerge after that. The sound is just there. And we have that privilege that we know what to expect. It's like we know the frequency to tune into. Like if we had this FM series, right, and we didn't know which frequency to, we'll keep searching for the channel. It will take so long. But now we know this channel. So then I can just put in that number and get the sound. So that's the advantage with these mantras. We can just quickly tune ourselves in with them. Yes, Saindra.
So quick question, Sandeep. So in the studies, even with the kids, did they know that they were reciting something called the Gayatri mantra? Again, I'm just curious that the effect of placebo. Like for example, if I know that any random A B C D E F, but calling it Gayatri mantra, if I have the significance attached to it, maybe I might also feel some differences. So has
Sure.
that also been controlled for? Just curious.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. It's very unlikely in India that they would have said this is the mantra, and then they would have told them we are, because ethics committee I don't think will allow that.
No, I'm saying if the people also like adults, obviously they
I'm
know these
saying that.
guys are Gayatri mantra. You don't need to be told
Correct.
separately.
I'm
But
saying
yeah,
I'm saying the researchers can't give a mantra without telling it's a Gayatri mantra. From the ethics standpoint, they'll have to tell them it's a Gayatri mantra.
okay.
That's the problem, and that's one of the big struggles with both yoga and this kind of research. Is
Yeah.
somebody is doing something, right? So how can you not tell them? And that's where the ethics issues also come. All you can create is a control where nothing is happening, for example. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right. It's hard. I don't know whether that happened, but this effect though is there. And good. I'm seeing Sita also sharing that experience when said with meaning and saying it mechanically. Also, there is some experience. I'm taking it that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not talking definitely about Gayatri Mantra because, as
Yes.
I said, this is not something that I've been chanting. But I'm looking at the other chants that I do on a regular basis. And one specific ones really call out to me is when I chant the Narayan Kavacham. That's in Kavach. The last part is, Bhogya Vastuni and Nakaprashtam, Siddhi Labham Paranishakanchi, Prasanna Mandasmita Sundarante, Mukhamujam Darshaya Santapanni. In that, we talk about, I want no attachment to any of these objects. I would this thing to be detached with no desires, and the only thing that should stand in front of me is your mukha, the smita, smiling face of your, the Krishna. So when I say this, see, when you understand the meaning and say it, there's so much, and when you just say it mechanically. So I used to say it mechanically, but the more I read about the meaning, the more it stayed with me. So that is the difference between saying mechanically and saying it with understanding the meaning. Yeah.
Totally. Yes. And when you say it with meaning, then that's where the meditation sort of also seeps in. And that's what we will try today. by the end of it, once we go through the meaning. And now I'm saying good, it's at least there is motivation. You said they are motivated to chant it, so that makes it good. Sanjeev, you asked, does listening has impact to? I am not so sure. So listening and chanting along with it will have. I'm not so sure just listening does. I haven't found any study on that also.
Maybe
But we
I
do
have
encourage it as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Go
I
on.
have a conjecture. Like, you know, in yoga, we say that if somebody is not able to do a particular asana, so we say you visualize it, that you are doing it, right?
Yes.
So that will have 22% of impact. That's how we say. And that's what I think scientifically also it's been proved. So
Yes.
I'm putting the same thing to listening also. So in case you're not able to, you know, kind of, you are not chanting, but you're
Correct.
listening, it should have an impact ideally, Sandeep.
So the difference is between visualization and listening is how our neural circuitry works, right? Listening is very passive. So if along with listening, I'm chanting, I'm just joining it, or I'm even moving my lips. I mean, that's equivalent to visualize. Because in visualization, I am initiating an action. Even though I'm not initiating it with my body, but from my brain, I am initiating the action. And that actually sends currents across our nervous system, whether we like it or whether we intend it or not. It does. That happens. That signal starts. And to me, these sounds are like, to a computer scientist or people who understand programming, it's a program. It's a 1-0 combination, a certain combination that you're sending to your nervous system with that command, right? When you visualize an action, visualize saying something. So that's also a kriya, right? That's part of our karam indriya, vak, pani, padam, right? So vak saying, our hands, our feet, when we move, they are all our action items. And this is change through action. When we initiate that in either way, visual or imaginary, it has an impact. It definitely does have an impact. So, but listening is different. It's just a one-way traffic. Yes, Sanjeev.
Yeah, it's like watching rather than doing. Got it. I got my answer. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that example, right? That's the right analogy there. Now you're watching somebody doing an asana. Will that have an impact if you don't visualize? Right? Listening is like watching somebody doing an asana.
Yeah.
Listening to the mantra.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Any other questions on the impact? There is separate research which I didn't get into. But I have like seen a little like just how chanting has an effect on our brain. Any chanting, so even Om, etc. I just stuck to some papers which was around Gayatri Mantra very specifically. So summary is it has for all ages, at least I think from beginning seeing its Vedic significance, as well as science is saying children and adults. It's for everybody. It affects our attention, how much we are able to pay attention, our memory very clearly, anxiety, and our mental state. So it's affecting all of those. And ranging from 5 days to 3 months, it is having that effect. Yes, Sindhu, you have your answer. Anyone can, it's universal. So yeah. Women can, men can, all genders can. Now there are many, I understand. So not just two. I don't know how many, but it's for everybody. It's universal. Yes. Good.
Sandeep, a question on this is related to the effect. I've heard that with some mantras, it's recommended that you focus on a particular area like the heart or the Agnya Chakra here for the effect of the mantra to come through. Is there anything like that for the Gayatri?
I haven't come across it, no. Nothing. And we will see what it can be. Once we get the meaning, I think there can be a visualization definitely around it. So when we get the meaning, which is the next, then yeah. So some people, for example, do it with the sun, and we'll see why. So like they offer water to the sun while they are standing in the water. So that's one of the common practices, rituals. But that's not the only one. So that. Okay. Any other questions?
So,
yes.
So, in respect to like impact, I would like to add one thing. So, I was talking to the head of one Gurukul who is they really do yagyas and do mantras. So he said, I asked them what if someone is not able to chant properly. So he said it's a responsibility of them who can chant mantras properly and can do these yagyas and all the things properly. It's our responsibility to do this more so others can get the benefits from it. So live chanting really has impact in universe, and that impact can be taken taken by others who are not able to chant properly. So
Yeah.
that
Okay.
it definitely has impact. Yeah.
Is it for specifically for this mantra? Or they were saying for everything, any
Everything,
chant,
everything,
any
everything.
chant. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Good. So shall we get to the meaning now? Yes. Okay. We'll have more time for questions. Yes, Sindhu, universal. The sound is universal. Anytime, under any condition, you can. Yeah, you're right. There is all these rituals have that sense of patriarchy where they have found reasons why not to, etc. But I haven't come across. So please. And one best way is do it with the meaning, as we'll get into it, and see what happens. And you will see you will know what is there. Good. So now let's get to the meaning. Okay. This is Sayantan's first question, right? What is this Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha? So, so one just highlight this Om. Some people add here so there are two schools of thought I found. One is they add an Om before the Tat Savitur Varenyam in this way to complete this 8. Some make this Varenyam. So they add a Badi E Yama when they say to add another syllable and don't add the Om. So you can choose whichever suits you. I have kept it this way right now. And that's why, because this is the mantra itself, this is the added part, it's an invocation earlier. So they add the Om before here. Now, what does Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha mean? So basically it's Bhu Bhuva Swaha. So Om is Om. I don't want to get into try and explain what Om is. That is the Mandukya Upanishad, and definitely more than a workshop. And someday, hopefully, I'll find within me to take a workshop on it. But Om is Om. Let's stay with Om. Om is the universal sound. Now, Bhu Bhuva Swaha are 3 lokas. Loka means fields of experience. So we are used to knowing Prithvi Lok, Patal Lok, and Swarg Lok, right? So Lok is actually a field of experience. We have made it like a space or a place, but it's about 3 fields of experience. And the way it is around gross, subtle to subtler. And many interpretations have been given on this. So one can very simply, I find it most relevant to see it as I invoke my body, mind, and soul, my 3 spaces of existence, right? My 3 sharis in that sharir space, or pancha koshas mein, my annamay, pranamay, and manomay kosha or vijnanamay kosha. So I am invoking the 3 planes of existence within me, right? So I'm bringing those 3 together. So that's why we say that first 3 part, because the rest has to be said with all 3 together. That it's like the being, I'm talking from this space, the remaining mantra. So that's why we add this before. Yeah. And you can attach whatever this Bhu, Bhuva, Swa. Some say Bhu is the Prithvi Lok, Bhuva is the interim, and Swa is the Swarg Lok. Right. So that's one interpretation that's given. Some question will come, what is Swarg only? So we don't know. Swarg may be where the Swa goes. Right? Ga, Swa, and Ga. It's made from Swa and Ga. Bhu is Prithvi, means this. So the other way is to say our body, my prana, my mind, right? Body, prana, mind, or body, mind, and soul. Whatever sort of you find convenient. 3, if you want to make it 5, you do that also. There is actually 7 lokas. So in Adi Shankaracharya's commentary, there are 7 lokas, and some people say all the 7 also. Right? So that's another way of chanting where they'll say all the 7. But the most common is these 3. And very practically, you can say you can even say body, mind, soul, or you can just, for yogis who understand prana, you can say my annamay, my pranamay, and my manomay kosh. Right? I am invoking that. I am bringing those together, at least to start. And once I have invoked those, right, now I will say the next line, which is this. And here these 2 come together. So we'll understand these 2 together. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. So here the operative word in Sanskrit, the first is the verb, dhimahi. So dhimahi means I meditate. I put my dhi, my mental energy on something. What am I putting my mental energy on? So what is the action I am taking? So when I invoke all these three, I am bringing my mental energy. I am aligning my mental energy focused on something. And once the mental happens, the prana in the body follow. That's why the focus is on the dhimahi. So I meditate. I fix my mental energy on what? On Tat Savitur. Tat Savitur. Tat is that. Savitur is the source of illumination. All illumination. So this is where you can have that visualization. Savitur is the visualization. Most people take it as the sun, but it's literally means that which illuminates. It's a source of illumination. So this is where the different schools of thought start coming, right? From Dvait to Vishesh, Advait and Advait. Dvait will say Savitur is a deity separate than me. I am appealing to that deity, to the sun as a visual to start with. Because sun is what illuminates everything. It illuminates the moon from which we get even light in the night, right? So it illuminates everything. Sun is the source of all energy. Science has established that now. There is no other energy. The sun is the source of all energy that's there on earth. So that's one way. That's a Dvait. The Advait will say, I am reaching out. I am meditating on the source of illumination that's within me. My soul, my Atman, the Brahman that's within me. Right? So I connect with that. I'm meditating on that, on my soul. Yeah. So this is where there is flexibility. You can visualize, or somebody was saying some deity, etc. This is what you can use Savitur, how you want to visualize Savitur. It's literally it's a source of illumination. Whatever is bringing light, illumination in your world, that source of illumination, Tat Savitur. So I'm meditating on that. Now there are some properties of this Tat Savitur, which is that it is Varenium. Varenium means it's reverential, respectful, worshipful, adorable, right? Varna, जिसको मतलब बहुत प्यार से, बहुत respect के साथ you can be with that, right? That's what it is. Yeah. So as you hold the Savitur, whatever Savitur you choose, the property is that there should be Varenium in your heart. You hold it with respect, with reverence, right? With adoration, with worship. That's the sort of bhav you are keeping for this Savitur. Tat Savitur, Varenium, Bhargo. So Bharga means it's something which is full of knowledge, which destroys all imperfections. And once the way it destroys it, the truth becomes self-evident. That's what Bharga means. That's the property of this Savitur again. So when there is sunlight, everything is so transparent, right? So again, sun is a good sort of proxy for this Savitur. But this is the property of this Savitur. And this Savitur is also within you. There is a source of light within you. Right? So you can also meditate on that Savitur. Holding that Savitur to you, which is respectful, with respect, with something which will take away all darkness, will take away all misapprehensions and make reality self-evident. And the last word is Devasya. Devasya means of the devas, of something which is self-illuminating, self-shining. So the property of this Savitur is its light doesn't depend on another thing. That's why moon can't be Savitur. Moon is reflecting the light of the sun. It's not self-lit. It's not self-shining in that way. Sun is self-shining. It's obviously from its atoms, and now we know the nuclear reaction that's happening. But it's not dependent on any other entity, any other being. Right? So that's what I'm doing Dhimahi on. Right? I'm meditating on this Savitur. That Savitur with respect, which is self-illuminating and which makes the truth self-evident. So this is the first step. When we say this mantra, that's where we want to get to. That's the meditation, you can say, along with it. It's lovely to see yawns as we hear this also. It's good. It's working on the system already. Right? Om Tat Savitur Vareniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Right? So I meditate on this. So till this meditation doesn't get settled, the last line is not so useful. We can say it, but I believe once you get this meditation, completely get in this zone, saying, this is it. I am meditating on this. All the three parts, all the three aspects of my being. You will see it fits in very well actually with the Panchakosha. When we see the fourth, what is the fourth last line then? Sorry. Sayantan, you have a question? Go ahead.
Quick question, feel free to take it later as well. But this part where destroys all imperfection, misapprehensions, could you expand on that a little bit? Because I feel my thinking mind also, going off thinking, okay, I'm full of imperfections, what will it destroy? Or do I attach on just the intent without working on myself and carrying those imperfections? So, on those lines, could you just throw some light?
Yeah. So I think the intention here is that we are invoking or we are meditating on this Savitur. The property of this Savitur is that it will remove all the imperfections, right? So if we are able to meditate on it, sit with it, and once we see the last line also, what we ask it to do, then without us knowing, without us labeling, without us being conscious of our imperfections, our misapprehensions, they will just disappear with the presence of it. One common example is if there is darkness, you switch on a light, the darkness goes, right? You don't have to know there is darkness or not, it will just go. So where there is this Savitur, then this can't exist once we invoke this. So we are not getting conscious also. If we are conscious about it, that is also okay. If we are not conscious about it, many of the times we are not only, we don't know what our imperfections are, but they go. Because it works on our nervous system at the deepest levels, like we saw. It will work on our nervous system. It will rewire, just like that meditation will. And we are invoking that within us in one form. So we don't need to believe in any third-party deity or an external deity also. So both are aligned with it. That's why we have both the Dvait and the Advait system, right? The Dvait says there is a separate deity. So people who want to believe that, please go ahead. You can. This is compatible with that also, because the Dvait founders also believed in the Vedas and the Advait one also. So they will say this Savitur is within you. So this source of this power to remove all your imperfections, to remove all misapprehensions, to become completely aware of the truth, the reality, let that be self-evident. It is what it is. Become completely aware of it. That power is also within you. And meditate on that power means search for that power within you. Search for that source within you. Nowhere else. You're completely independent. Irrespective of gender, age, or any other criteria that we may use to divide. It's universal. That power is within you.
No, this last part made a lot of sense, Sandeep. Thank you. That the part within you, because
Yes.
if I'm having anger, jealousy, whatever XYZ, and I'm invoking this, wishing for some magical thing to take it away from me, that's again external. So the looking within part, I think, was very useful for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. And that's why both are there. This is the beauty of it. You can understand it in both ways, whatever works for you. And then once you are settled in this, right? Once you understand, you are able to say, and you can create a visual if that helps you saying, okay, what is this Savitur for me? If you want a visual, if you experience it in one part of your body, like I think Shaun was saying, heartfulness, people suggest that you do it in this part of your body, right? In the heart. But you may experience it in a different part of your body, right? So choose that part, hold it there. Wherever you are experiencing it in the moment, you experience it there. Because again, my belief, my understanding from the Vedic system, it's across your body, it's everywhere, inside of you and outside of you. So it's there inside of you everywhere. Wherever you experience it, you pick that. wherever you want to focus. Right? There is no prescription on this mantra. At least I didn't find anything on this body part or that body part. You focus or you put your attention wherever you feel like. And across, as I said, your body, your prana, your mind or your soul. And once you do that, right, once you are settled in this, you're able to hold this savitur, understand this within or outside, just be with that, this with a lot of reverence, respect, belief that it's about clearing what all the misapprehensions, this light, the source of light. Then you say, Dhiyo yo na prachodayat. Dhiyo yo na prachodayat. Meaning, prachodayat means enlighten again, illuminate. So illuminate what? My dhi, our dhi, dhiyo yo na, our intellect again. So this source of light, which is within me, this source of quote unquote light, this illumination, enlighten the intellect within me once we hold that. So this mantra is about that. It's about enlightening us. It's about removing all these misapprehensions. So no wonder it's working on our memory. It's working on our attention, as we saw in the research, right? That meaning is embedded. The meaning is what people experience. And that's what we are seeing, the functional side of it. The meaning came from that sound. It's how this sound impacts us. This sequence of sound impacts us. It will make things clear. Misapprehensions will go. And we connect with that and say, yeah, enlighten me. So even in that situation, like Sanatani say, within me, if I'm angry, show me, enlighten me about this anger also. Right? What is driving this anger? Connect with that source of wisdom within you, that source of illumination within you. And you will see the light instead of being succumbing to the anger, to the sadness, to whatever. You will see what it is really about. And it will heal through the nervous system. So to summarize, what we are saying is I invoke the three fields of experience. I meditate upon this adorable and self-shining source of illumination that makes truth self-evident. And then I request it to enlighten our intellect. This is not my intellect. The Naha means our intellect. So that's what Madhuri was saying. It affects everyone. There is some impact on everybody. Taking a pause here, let this sink in, just absorb the overall meaning. So there's a word by word, but more important is to just stay with what it means, what it means for you now. If you do want to chant it, how would you want to do it? What's your savitur? How would you want to keep this source, this respectful, adorable, self-shining source of illumination? How would you want to connect with that? And then all the answers will be there. Yes. Yeah. Leaving it. Yeah, yes, Anjali, go ahead. You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah. I wanted some clarity on the three fields of experience that we're talking about. That I invoke the three fields. So what exactly are the three fields? So they're within us only, no?
Yes, they are within us. So that's why I'm connecting with all the three fields. I'm bringing them together. So you're familiar with Panchakoshas?
Yeah. Yes.
So one way this whole thing fits in with that Panchakosha very nicely according to me. It says, basically first I'm connecting with my Annamay, my Pranamay and my Manomay Kosha. Those are my three fields of experience. Right? Then I set my mind on that Savitur, which is my Anandmay Kosha. I don't need anything else. I connect with my Anandmay Kosha and say, lighten up my Vijnanamay Kosha, which is my intellect, and connect all. So this way, all five will get aligned.
Yes.
All within me, right? I'm just connecting with this. Bhur,
Yeah.
Bhuva, Swaha are my body, my prana, my mind, and I'm connecting this. Savitur is my Anandmay Kosha. That level, my Anandmay Atma, and I'm saying, please enlighten my Vijnanamay. So then my Manomay, my Pranamay, and my Annamay will go on there. That's one way to say.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yes, thank you.
Yes, Anand.
Hi. So one, and apologies if I've already answered this question, so I can maybe catch up on the recording afterwards. So one is this broader, I mean, the definition at the bottom, in some sense, the attempt to, ask or access the spirit so that the soul may enlighten. I think this seems to, and as you said, ye Panchakosh ka hai theme, so there are different tools to sort of do this, and seems to be life's purpose and work and things like that. So is this to be seen as one tool that's available to use? And therefore the subsequent question is that under what conditions must one use this, or should one use this? Because thoda sa, and similar to I think Aditya writing a while ago, mera bhi bachpan mein initiate hua tha, kafi traumatic experience ke saath mein karaya, force karaya, nahi karaya, and all of it, and all of it happened. So now the inquiry is that, so I was then, since, and especially now Rishikesh is at an age jahan pe usko initiate karana hai, then all the more questions are coming up ke chair karna hai, nahi karna hai, and all of it. So the question I'm getting to is, so I was rather, in fact, one more small piece to add, that when I was reading about the significance of it, the importance, the value, and things like that. So one place I also heard about, ki let's say about 1,000+ years ago, Adi Shankaracharya ji sort of somewhat brought this into everyone's social life a little more actively. And I mean, that's what I've heard. So it's not fact checked at this moment. But now the modern day, the current conditions we live in, they don't allow for that environment jahan pe iska utna effect padta hai, is also what I've heard. So essentially the question is about relevance to these times. Is that something for us to think about somewhere? I mean, not that it's a collective mandate out there, it's more about personal choice, of course, but वो line of inquiry भी थी कि उसका relevance क्या है आज के दिन में, और उसे कैसे interpret करना चाहिए.
बिल्कुल नहीं बिल्कुल. I think that's why initially I did share, and if you go through the slides in the recording, you will see there is scientific research on it where they have found. So they have, for example, compared Gayatri Mantra chanting with poetry chanting, and they have found 4.5 times better impact with Gayatri Mantra chanting on memory, on attention, on anxiety. So, and this is the scientific side where it is relevant today, definitely, for children as well as adults. And the origin of it, right? Where is this? This is coming as a Vedic mantra. So I'm repeating this so that everyone really understands this basic question, why it is relevant. It's a Vedic mantra. So Vedic mantra means it is the sound of the universe. It is a sound which exists in the universe. We are just connecting with it. So this is giving us another tool, like you said, to connect, to tune into that frequency. We know now, अरे वो FM का कौन सा channel पे connect करना है. This is the channel. So if you want to brighten your intellect directly, to enlighten your intellect, it will directly impact it. And these are studies done by very good, even AIMS has done many on this only. This is that tuning which will happen. So it's giving us that tool to tune into. Very relevant. I think even more so now than before, given the noise we have, so many things to compete for our attention that we have. This will allow us to be this is what it improves our attention. That's what the data is saying. It improves our attention. For children, for adults, it improves attention. So it gives us that focus.
ठीक है, understood. Second one, आपने एक refer किया, there were 7 realms, and I also my chanting come across. There is a longer version of the Gayatri. तो ये longer and shorter में, is there a
So एक जो मैंने पढ़ा है कि longer is usually only when initiated. A lot of it is actually kept secret. They don't talk about it, including in the book. They just mention there is longer. The shorter is what is more universal. So I think it also became popular with one was Adi Shankara, but more recently, in my understanding, is Arya Samaj. May Swami Dayanand Saraswati, when he picked that up, he's made this like the central mantra, nothing else. In Arya Samaj, this is the mantra with any Arya Samaji will know. Others may know the whole Havan, Kund and all, but this one everyone will know. So I was taught this when I was sharing at 2 years or 3 years of age, being born in that family.
At the age of 2 years?
Huh? And the thing which was told me, कि अपने age plus 1 times repeat करो. Every year you keep adding 1 more. That was the guideline. I kept it going for a long time.
Because I'm speaking right now, I had a question around the second Om in the second line, or the Om in the second line. ये जो मैंने version which I have been taught, उसमें एक ही Om आता है शुरुआत में, second line में नहीं आता है. तो
correct. तो मैंने वो बताया था, वो 8 syllables के लिए है. So again for clarity, this varenyam, here it's varenyam, it becomes varenyam when Om is not there. So there are 2 versions of it. Then it becomes 8 syllables. Then it fits in the Gayatri meter of 888. Otherwise it doesn't. So there are 2 versions. I have seen both versions.
Okay. Thank you for your patience responding to some already asked questions. I'll catch the recording again.
Yes. So Sita said Tattvamasi in short. Tattvamasi is that is me. So yes, Savitur is me. So if you see it that way, then Tattvamasi. So the Savitur is within you. Yes, in that way it is Tattvamasi.
So Sandeep, quick question. This Om Bhurvasava is then before every single Gayatri meter mantra, is it? It's invoked?
So not Gayatri meter. If you are saying sometimes even some other mantras, so this is, I'm not very clear on what the sort of the Vedic rule is. Some mantras they will add this before, not again all. So like in Mahamrityunjay is of course not Gayatri, I think, meter, but in that they don't say. So I don't know the rule. If anyone else knows, then please share. I don't know. In this one, it is there, definitely. Every version I have seen, it is there. Any other questions? Else we'll try now with this meaning, holding this meaning. We'll try.
So, yeah. So the effect is due to the Devanagari syllable also, because in the इसमें Devanagari में लिखा हुआ है. So that's why.
नहीं. So वरे नियम में actually add करते हैं. नियम है इसमें अभी. नियम में they will add a बड़ी ईकार and ऐसा. यम. So in this it will be spelled only different. वरे नियम. न पे बड़ी ई लगेगी. यम. तो एक और ये एक वो बन गया ना, एक और syllable ही बन गया. So it's not Devanagari. It's just it's a sound. Devanagari to anyways. The script came much later, right? It was all verbal first. So,
okay.
So Adi Shankaracharya ji's version actually has Vare Niyam.
Okay.
And it doesn't have the Om. It doesn't have the Om before. Okay. Good. So is everyone familiar with this or knows it from the past? Right? So everyone knows or somebody needs some support with. So you can raise a hand or thumbs up, support with even just basic chanting of it with the words, because then we'll spend some time on it. Otherwise, I would suggest that we'll do a chant. We'll do some chants with this meaning. So you do it your way, what you know, but now hold the meaning. This meaning of connecting with your Savitur, whatever that Savitur is for you. That which is self-illuminating, that which is adorable, that which makes truth self-evident. Whatever is that to you, and then say, enlighten my intellect. I'll just give a background to it. So I'll just say it so everyone can be on mute. I'll say it once or twice to set that. Then I leave it for some time for people to do it on your own. And we can come back after 5 minutes, like meditate on this. Is that okay? For everyone? Everyone knows it, right? I'm guessing because I've seen lots of questions. It seems like people know it. Anybody? I can see thumbs up for the video guys. Non-video guys, some are giving thumbs up, which is good. Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, good. Seems like anybody. So I'm guessing nobody needs it. Anybody needs, let me know. All thumbs up have come. Vandana. Okay, I'm guessing good. Okay. Okay, then let's do that. We will do it. So this. So it is in that way slightly maybe different than what you have done. The idea is to meditate on this meaning. Stay with this meaning. So what we'll do is we will sit comfortably, everyone. Yeah. Whatever posture is comfortable. Even if you are on a chair, just make sure your feet are comfortably on the ground. Your back is supported. Gently close your eyes. Bring your attention to your breath for 1 or 2 rounds. Connecting with your body, your prana, your mind. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha. Om Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha. Om Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha. Om Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Tatsaviturenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Om Swasth. Om Tatsaviturenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Slowly, I request all of you to gently come back to the room, complete your process, and slowly and gently come back.
If I may say something,
Just
I
a
like that.
second.
Yeah,
Just,
sorry, sure.
just let everyone, just give him some more time. Slowly open your eyes. Go ahead, Anand.
It's good that you highlighted again at the start that we should focus on the meaning and find our own Savitur and then how it connects. And why am I saying it's important, at least for me, is because like the way this was introduced to me, it was all about count. कि जैसे even Pujari wrote a while ago that 11 करने हैं, 21 करने हैं, 108 करने हैं. The focus is heavily on count. And then फिर साल में एक बार आता है the day when we change our thread. उस दिन तो 1008 मतलब उस दिन तो मतलब तो you literally are running a meter of your own, मतलब not this meter but a meter race. तो when I saw Sindhu writing 40 minutes में 108, वहां पे तो 40 मतलब अपने 500 पहुंच जाते थे almost. So the thing is, and that's been the interaction. The relationship has been about completing it. Now the point of conflict there is, I've also heard and read that वो count is also of a certain significance. कि वो 1008 करना है, वो 108 करना है, तो वहां कभी डिलेमा हो जाता है कि अभी वो 1000 कार्ड करेंगे तो फिर देन हो गया 5 घंटा फिर करने के लिए गिवन सिंधु स्पीड व्हाट शी रिकमेंडेड. तो नाउ एटलीस्ट एंड द कॉल आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेक इज एटलीस्ट जितना बोलो ठीक से बोलो. आई मीन एट द बेस दैट्स क्लियरली इज नॉट रॉन्ग. मतलब काउंट क्लियरली कैन नॉट प्रिसीड क्वालिटी. But now you mentioning the meaning and saying that find it, I think for me that's even more powerful now, and I think more meaningful that finally connection is perhaps most important. So thanks for doing that. I just wanted to share this.
Thank you. Yeah, I see Sindhu's chat also. Yes. That my guess, Sindhu, you're mostly releasing, which is good. So it's working. That's all. If you're yawning, if you're getting into slumber mode, see if at that time, fight off the slumber. Try and stay awake. If required, open your eyes also for a moment and get back to it. It's working. That's what at least my understanding. Yes, Aditya.
Yeah, I think I also concur with Anand, but मेरा थोड़ा अलग experience लग रहा है because मैंने खुद से कई बार इसका मीनिंग जानने की कोशिश की थी. Like I googled it and then some YouTubes पे देखा. Maybe for a day or two I tried to remember it and then again it vanished. So definitely today I think it's very clear. At least maybe till date, whatever best meaning I could gather, that is good. But on the other hand, I felt I couldn't do it more than 5 times tonight. And for me, it's very odd. Like it's 1:20 a.m. here. And maybe I felt इतना मुझे तकलीफ नहीं हुई थी कभी. I used to just say it. Maybe casually बोलता था. बस बोलना है इसलिए बोलता था शायद. That could be reason. Or maybe there is some connection to the whole, because there is a lot of focus on illumination in this mantra, which means light, and traditionally we have been told to do it keeping sun in mind. So I feel it is worth investigating कि ये रात में करना चाहिए नहीं. Maybe there is some adverse impact.
Yes. Yeah, some schools do say that not to do, but that is if you see Savitur as sun only. But if you see the source within you, then you can be enlightened any time of the day. Not awake, enlightened.
Enlightened.
Yeah. And one other thing is, I had one uncle, this is just one personal sharing. I had one uncle in my family who used to do this a lot. And I don't know, maybe I was 4 or maybe 5, 6 years old. He came to my hometown and he was just sitting, and my family is a religious and kind of more into karma kanda thing. So that sentence is still in my mind. कि उन्होंने एक बोला था कि गायत्री मंत्र इज द मोस्ट पावरफुल मंत्र, और वो मेरे दिमाग में बचपन से बैठा है. बट आई थिंक टुडे आई गॉट क्लैरिटी. मैंने उनको भी कभी पूछा नहीं कि व्हाई डिड यू से दैट, बिकॉज़ मेबी आई वाज किड, बट ही यूज्ड टू से दैट एंड आई थिंक इट्स जेन्युइनली पावरफुल. Because now that you showed that research, I'm just trying my own history of my life, because I used to do Sandhya initially 3 times a day. In fact, not just morning and evening, even in the 12 o'clock sun thing also, we were told to do it. So I used to do that. Then 3 became 2, 2 became 1. And after I went to engineering, it became 0. तो हो सकता है मेरा attention और memory तब तक बहुत अच्छा था. And it has slowly started reducing, but I think it's a good trigger to start it again.
Yeah. Yes. Good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. One of the things I've been experimenting is with vitamin D3 deficiency. To chant this, if you illuminate the sun within you, the D3 deficiency won't happen, is one of the hypotheses. But that has to be researched and tested. That's what I feel. That's my conjecture. That if actually you do this, D3 deficiency, which is so prevalent now, actually goes down. You don't need supplement. Initially, you might need, say, if it's below 10 also, that initial support you might need. Once you are in that zone with this, then you can be free from supplements over time, is my sense. But I don't know that. Yes, Vivek.
Yeah, like Mr. Puri was saying. So basically, I have tried researching this mantra, right, several times in terms of meaning, what it means, every word. And I spent quite a lot of time, right? But probably today was the day where I could understand its meaning, right? And I could very well relate. So I'm so thankful, like, so I don't know what this initiation means, because this mantra, when I was a child, I've been hearing. So I don't know the day when I heard it for the first time. In most Hindu family, it happens like that, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so I'm very thankful, right? I hope that, I'll remember this meaning going forward.
Yeah.
Also, one thing which I'd like to say is, like, and just adding, this is my perspective, like, open to, questions on this. So I think it is also to do with culture and language. So maybe the rishis in some other language or culture may have understood their sounds and mantras in a very different way. So maybe for us Hindus, like, the kind of regard and due respect we would give to this mantra maybe some Christian may give it to something else, and some Buddhist may give it to something else, right? And for them, there may be a different sound to this mantra, right? And anyways, like, the mantra to me, the meaning is such a beautiful thing, like, that it gives what I'm asking, the Anandamaya Kosha is that, make enlighten my Vigyan, right? Vigyan my Kosha, right? So in its way, the way what I'm asking is something which is, I'm considering that my Vigyan may not be perfect, right? And keep enlightening it, right? So that in itself is such a great thing. So the only thing is the scientific research which has been done. Was it done on, the groups which were having Hindus as part of, their culture, which had, people from, this, or, maybe people who are Christians, maybe, which are in other countries may have something to do with, if they get some hymns or something of their own religion also may help them meditate and, sharpen their intellect in some other way, right?
Yes. No, I think there is independent research on those also, on chanting other things, on hymns, etc. That also exists. So it's worth exploring. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? We're over time, so thank you. Yes, Vinti.
So I was just listening to what Vivek was saying. So I am an Arya Samaji. So this is like for me, I think it's just part of your growing up, and I just want to say that something just comes to you. It just they say that sometimes you're just attracted to something and you don't it just hits you, or it just becomes a part of your DNA. So you get attracted to something. So today also when I was doing this, but at the same time I was also when I was doing this, as Mahamrityunjay mantra was also playing in my brain, because both of this was like somehow it was also reverberating in my consciousness. So I don't know how to explain this, but while I was saying this in parallel mode, that was also moving around. So I think sometimes we just get attracted to something more, which is difficult to explain actually.
Yes. Yes. No, it is very likely, right? It does connect to our nervous system, right? So what is my nervous system's current state is different than yours or somebody else's, and yours will be different in future than it was in the past. So it's very here and now. So stay with what connects with you, with your nervous system. It will guide you. It's all Vedic sounds. So Mahamrityunjay is also, I think, from the Rig Veda. It's definitely a Vedic mantra. Then, yeah. So it has the same ability to have an impact on us, because it's part of the sound of the universe system. So whatever connects with your system right now, be true to that.
Sandeep, when I was growing up and we were taught this Gayatri mantra, I mean, not taught so much, but we were told that no, don't pronounce it incorrectly. So it was in a fear. We were very fearful. Incorrectly कुछ बोला तो शायद कुछ हो जाएगा kinds. So I stopped from Gayatri mantra. कभी नहीं बोलती थी मैं. And that somehow stopped me from chanting it. Itna dar tha dimag mein, but I think yeah,
and there are some mantras which Vedic mantras, yes, I think they do say, and I think there is some science to it, that incorrect pronunciation can have an effect. But there is a legend, or there is a story in the Puranas also, that some mantras have been given this freedom that incorrect won't cause harm. Incorrect won't bring benefit, correct will bring, but some others incorrect will have the opposite effect. But some mantras like this, the Mahamrityunjay, I think, have that privilege of saying you do it wrong, it doesn't cause harm. So we feel free to do it whatever way, best way. if you at least meditate on the meaning, that will have the impact in itself, I think, to a great extent. So doing it with meaning adds to that. And even if one time you are able to do it with meaning, stay with it, that itself will be, has its own impact.
That reminds me of that story of Mara, 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 Mara. And when he kept on saying Mara, 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 it just became Ram, 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 Ram. Right? So, I mean, anything is, recited with passion and, belief, it just has its own quality.
And Jaya, that I mean, I have just recently someone told a very nice analogy to me कि जैसे अभी गणपति आ रहे हैं ना 1-2 दिन में, तो in Australia there was a debate कि Indian मुहूर्त पे करना चाहिए या ऑस्ट्रेलिया के वगैरह, and that person is very knowledgeable in that sort of area, तो he posted some information which was very useful for us. तो वहाँ पे उन्होंने बोला कि ये टाइम पे करो करके, तो और he ended his message saying भगवान हम पे गुस्सा नहीं होते हैं and he always remembers and appreciates our भक्ति, लेकिन फिर भी हमारी तरफ से हमारा कर्म अधिकाधिक योग्य होना चाहिए और उसका हमारा एफर्ट होना चाहिए. I think that intent is more important was what he was focusing. कि मतलब don't ignore accuracy.
Yes, so true, but yeah, when you're a kid, you just believe things, right? And it just stays with you.
Absolutely.
मैंने ऐसा ये देखा है कि लोग ना घरों में लगा के रखते हैं गायत्री मंत्र, या फिर सो अगेन इट कम्स अंडर द कैटेगरी ऑफ लिसनिंग ओनली ना, उसका कोई इफेक्ट तो होगा नहीं, बिकॉज वो इग्नोरेंट है. मैं तो इग्नोरेंट हूँ, मैं घर पे जा रहा हूँ, मुझे पता ही नहीं है अगर लगाए तो. सो अगेन वो वॉचिंग वाला, लिसनिंग वाला इफेक्ट हुआ ना.
हाँ
ना
उसके बाद आई थिंक उसका पर्पस ये होता है, हो सकता है अगर किसी का दिख गया तो शायद
तो
बोल
याद आ
लेता है,
गया.
याद आ जाए, मतलब इट्स लाइक रिकॉल.
रिकॉल. हाँ.
But that's interesting, right, Sandeep? जैसे if it is a universal sound, then does it then create vibrations in the home? जैसे मैं रॉक म्यूजिक लगाऊं या गायत्री मंत्र लगाऊं, वो भी चॉइस है, क्या सुनूं मैं.
Correct.
तो maybe it creates a different vibration in the house.
Yeah, very likely.
बट अगेन उस वाइब्रेशन से एवरीबॉडी ट्यून हो जाए, ये भी जरूरी नहीं ना.
जरूरी नहीं.
तो
अपना एंटीना तो ठीक करना पड़ेगा ना.
हाँ.
अपना एंटीना ही डायरेक्शन दूसरी तरफ लगा देंगे तो क्या फायदा.
True.
सिग्नल कैसे पकड़ेंगे. डिश का डायरेक्शन तो ठीक करना पड़ेगा पहले.
And I think Sandeep, what you were saying na ki state of mind, lot of things resonate with the state of mind, right? As my state of mind changes, my perspective changes. I see same things very differently on a different day, on a different time.
That is the antenna, na? That is our antenna.
Yeah.
That's how we are tuning in. We're tuning.
Yeah, actually that's interesting. जैसे I think joint family में मैंने ये notice किया था कि when my grandmother or my mom used to chant few things, not everyone pays attention to that. कुछ बच्चे होंगे जाके बैठेंगे वहाँ पे, some people will be watching TV. तो हमारा antenna important है than what is getting. Yeah, it's really nice analogy.
Good. Yeah, thank you everyone. We are past time, so thank you for staying. And I'll be around if there are more questions, but I think we'll formally call it close, so people can go. We'll close it with our closing prayer. Sorry, I see a last comment. Okay. Let's close with our prayer. Do maybe one around. No, we just close with our prayer. So sit comfortably. Allow your feet to be comfortably on the ground. If you're seated on a chair, back supported. Eyes gently closed. Bring your attention to your breath. repeat after me. May all be sukhi, khush, joyful. May all be swasth, sehatmand, healthy. May all be in shanti, sukoon, peace. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Have a good day.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sandeep. Thank you.
संदीप एक क्वेश्चन था.
हाँ.
Sometimes you don't want to, you not have the ecosystem to say these mantras where you want to decide internally, right? मतलब अब आँख बंद करके you're meditating, you want to just say, is that the same thing or it has to be said because these are Vedic sounds, right?
Yes. No, that's why the internal has the same impact. In fact, जो उसका progression है ना, वो ऐसे ही होता है हर मंत्र का. पहले you start usually loud chanting, then it becomes a whisper, where you're able to say it with just moving your lips, but no sound comes out, and eventually it becomes internal to your nervous system. So it'll keep just chanting continuously. So finally तो वहीं जाना है, but कहीं नहीं कर पा रहे हो तो saying it into your internally perfectly fine. The idea is why the intention of action is there. So you have said it mentally. So then it has that effect. It starts that process. Basically.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. This is very enlightening. Because इतने सालों से जाना है, सुना है, but इस तरह का breakdown आज तक किसी ने नहीं दिया. So thank you for providing this insightful kind of session. Okay. Thanks, Sandeep.
Good to see you after some few days.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.